Um, Tip, Murph, Jesse, if you guys want to jump on the Dolphins AFC bandwagon, now's the time to do it.
Why would I jump on that bandwagon?
The Raiders have no shot. You're not
Are you
even in
kidding me?
contention.
You're,
No, dude.
we're 1-0, leading the AFC West, the toughest conference in all of the NFL.
Not with the Chiefs. Don't look very good, Jeff. Danger Russ is
I
not
got
scaring
Mahomes.
anybody.
He'll be fine. He looked good. He looked better against us.
Um, I mean, I couldn't be more excited about how bad the Buffalo Bills are.
I think the Jets defense is just really good.
I agree.
No, come on. What's with that field, MetLife? That thing's taking ACLs and Achilles left and right, isn't it?
They're
Sure
using
is.
corks and turf and all that stuff.
Is that the new?
No, it's just turf.
No, I was gonna say
No.
it's not
Got
good.
Stu's writes in the chat. He's waiting, itching.
Hmm.
Stu, do me a
Stu,
favor.
man.
Hit that like button, brother.
I don't know what App State fans are so mad about. You had 2 opportunities 2 years in a row, and you failed on both. Come
Yeah.
at me, App State.
You didn't
I
watch it,
watched.
huh?
I watched it. Bad calls on both ends, both sides.
Ooh.
Well,
I thought that was a terrible.
You know the last
Horrendous.
play. The last
Terrible,
play.
yeah.
They should have called a PI on that.
Yeah. Yeah,
No,
I
they play
thought that
good.
was a
I think
terrible
North
call.
Carolina's actually really good this year.
I think they're not as good as people think. Just my opinion.
We still don't know. We still don't know a lot about. I mean, if you were to look right now, I mean, who's even
Who's
Even Georgia doesn't look like amazing. I mean,
I think the SEC as a whole looks like garbage.
it does, but I mean, come 10 weeks from now, you know,
I mean,
you might Georgia may be 10-0, Bama may be 9-1. I mean,
goodness sakes, Alabama lost to an awful Texas team. So
the good news is, I think LSU's out of the picture. I think Florida State's pretty damn good, but
they're the best team
LSU
in
appears
the.
to be fraudulent. But
Ohio State's not good.
no, they're bad too,
I
huh?
think Western gives them a handful. I don't know if they win. But.
then you got
I
Colorado
can't tell
out
if Jeff's
there.
being serious. These are pretty good teams.
Who's a good team?
Colorado?
Texas
Colorado
Longhorns
might be the best team in the
Texas
country.
Longhorns are pretty good. You said a bad Texas team. Wow, they're bad.
Texas
They're
is
pretty
not
good.
back. They've been
Georgia
back for 20
is
years.
Georgia's dominant. They came back and scored
gracious.
40 points in the second half, pretty
let's-
much.
Let's kick our show off. I'm ready. I'm fired up.
Are we a group of 5 show or what?
I'm just saying, you have to give teams respect.
No respect.
Are you going to be as humble today as cocky as you were last week after you claimed that Bama was
I
going
got
to win the
very
national
much.
championship?
Didn't I say Bama's going to national championship?
I like
last
this
week.
Middle Tennessee team because they held tight with Bama, who's, by the way, going to win the national championship.
Also,
I got
and
humbled
like
this
close.
weekend. I got humbled.
all right. Let's kick it off. You ready,
Also,
Strauss?
Yeah,
We'll get
Jeff,
into
I'm
it.
ready.
That's a game we'll talk about.
2 games in a row, dude. Flu game 96, Jordan. Here we go. I'm taking care of it. Tell me when. Good evening and welcome into the #1 Group of 5 football podcast in all of the world. We are the Group of 5 guys. Our mission and our goal is to be the voice for the Group of 5 football programs that the mainstream sports media refuses to do. We absolutely need your help to do that. We need you to follow us on all the social media platforms at Group of 5 Guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you stream your best podcast. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, give us a 5-star rating and review. Most importantly, tell your family and friends all about us. And Mentioned it last week, brand new merch website. Go to group5guys.com. We got some really good stuff on there. We got hats available with the leather patch, Group of Five Guys logo on there. We got some more stuff coming. T-shirts, hoodies, polos in all of your favorite teams' colors. Really good stuff. On this show, we're going to recap a little bit our trip to Conway, South Carolina and Coastal. We're going to talk about week 2. We're going to preview just a little bit of what we got coming up in week 3. Enjoy the show. Have you had it from somebody born and raised in Lafayette, Louisiana, at a tailgate? Doubt it.
Lee Corso is a guy who had a retirement party 10 years ago, and yet he still won't leave the office.
Projected getting drafted between the first and third round. Like, that's incredible.
That's impressive.
Yeah, the wide receivers are absolutely stacked for the Group of 5.
I said Michael Pratt has got to show up and play, and boy did he. 394 yards, 4 touchdowns, 48 rushing yards on the ground, and another touchdown.
I really appreciate you do for the Group of 5 programs, and I think it's great, and we should get more of this. But you guys are on the forefront of this, and
so I'm thankful for this. I'm glad that you're talking about the Group of 5 because I think they get overlooked.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
I appreciate what you guys do, truthfully, covering the Group of 5. Y'all said it earlier, but the Sun Belt to me is college football.
Can we just kick this thing off and talk about the absolute criminal activity that we witnessed from these officials over the weekend? I mean, multiple games, multiple conference crews, multiple points in the game, multiple types of calls. You got bad targeting calls. You got a guy on Kansas State holding the Troy defensive end on every other play. You got phantom PI calls, non-PI calls that should have been PIs. You got borderline, knee down rulings in Houston that almost get screwed. I mean, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist here, but I think there was a lot of robberies. I mean, we watched probably when we got back to our house from the Coastal game, which got big lightning delay, by the way. We witnessed probably 4 terrible calls within the span of 4 channel changes. I mean, we literally would flip to a game, bad call. We flip to catch the end of the App State game. No call on the last play on what everybody thought was a PI. And then, of course, ESPN doesn't even show the replay because they know how bad it was. Then we catch the end of the middle game, and you get almost a non-call on the offensive PI. Jeff Murphy got all worked up about, but then they did throw the flag. And then the next play, they give it back to him on a borderline, I would say, a phantom PI call. You got Houston and Rice where they're reviewing the knee down at the goal line. You got Zach Branner's tweeting out a bunch of holding calls or holding non-calls in the Troy-Kansas State game. There was a bad targeting call in the middle game, a bad targeting call in the Charlotte game, a bunch of bad calls in the Tulane Ole Miss game. Sorry to go on a rant there, but I don't know where to begin. It seems purposeful as far as I'm concerned.
Well, these are big matchups between Group of 5 and Power 5 programs. And I'm so sick of this targeting call. Like, you got to stop throwing out players. Like, if they get 2 in a row or something, like, I'm good with that. But, like, the middle got 2 targeting calls against Power 5 programs 2 weeks in a row. And both times are 2 of their best players on defense. And the hits were very, very questionable. It seems like they're not even looking at all at the offensive ball carrier that drops their head at the last minute. And I'm just like, you're changing the dynamic of the game. And as a Group of 5 programs, like most of them, or a lot of them, I shouldn't say most of them, don't have a ton of depth, especially when you're taking away a top player at a corner or a safety or a linebacker. Like, it's just getting really, really bad. And I don't know if they're ever going to change the rule, but you got to do something then one time and he's out. I I think that's a terrible
Yeah.
rule.
Well, I think it's pretty easy to tell if it was a football or non-football play. Like it's pretty clear when you're looking at 1,000 replays of it. Like, okay, did the guy duck his head and attempt to, go crown of the helmet, or was he trying to make a tackle and they both kind of lowered their head a little bit and they just happened to run into each other? And it's real obvious to tell on the replay. So I don't understand. You talk about intent and stuff. I don't understand why they keep throwing people out. I mean, and this is at all levels, by the way. This is NFL, this is Power 5, Group of 5. I mean, these are game-changing plays.
The NFL though, it's just a 15-yard penalty. We saw that last night in that game, or I'm sorry, on Sunday, where the Denver Broncos safety, I mean, just annihilates Jacoby Myers over the middle. I mean, he easily could have took a different route, but it's 15-yard penalty. The player stays in the game. I just don't know why in college it's one time, even if it could be questionable, and the guy's gone. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't like it. I mean, that's.
I think that they fine the NFL players. They don't fine the college players, which you probably should now with an IL deal.
Yeah,
probably could fine them now.
There's too much gray area with that. I think it definitely needs to be looked at, though. It needs to be like a warning needs to be assessed on the first penalty, on the first targeting penalty, and if that same player does it a second time, then they can be disqualified or ejected from the game. But there's just you see too many times where when the refs are looking at the replays of these targeting calls, if there's any helmet to helmet contact whatsoever, then they're calling it, most of the time, at 99% of the time, they're calling it a targeting penalty, and that player is immediately ejected. And it can completely change the momentum of the game, like we saw over the weekend at the MTSU Missouri game. MTSU, I mean, they still had a chance to win that game, but to lose one of your key secondary players in Jacoby Thomas in that game that's huge. That's a huge loss for MTSU.
Well, they never look at, like Murph said, they never look at the offensive guy. I mean, how many running backs lower their head as they're running through between the tackles? And that's half the time what makes the contact helmet to helmet. Because otherwise, the defensive player might be putting their helmet right in their chest, but then last second, running back thinks they're going to truck a linebacker or a safety, and they lower their head. So
and you have to ease up. You have to ease up when they're running out of bounds. If you don't ease up a run of bounds, the running back's just going to keep getting like an extra yard or two. Quarterbacks are the freaking worst at that. They're like they're going out of bounds and they'll just get another yard. Football is just the game. The sport is just being ruined with these rules.
Well, not to get on a real tangent, but don't tell me you're about the player safety, no matter what it costs, and sit there. You got all these guys playing on MetLife turf, and you got all these injuries happening left and right. Why don't we examine the type of field we're playing on before we try to change the way guys play the game that they've been playing forever that a certain way, and now you're trying to teach them to, make a split second adjustment while they've already left their feet or while they. I mean, it's crazy. I realize that these people are world-class athletes, but it is insane what they expect people to do in a millisecond of time in live action. It's absolutely insane what they think people are capable of. But I digress. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think App State, I think that was a bad call. I think they had a chance to win that game. I like what Sean Clark said, I think, today in his press conference about how good that game is for the state of North Carolina as a whole. I think Mack Brown is I don't like that take at all, thinking that North Carolina doesn't benefit from playing that game, because sure they do. They benefit from winning that game, and especially when you look at a team like App State. Like you'll get credit. That's a good non-conference win even in the national media's eyes at this point with App State. So I don't think North Carolina has nothing to gain from that. And so I think it's just Mack Brown not wanting to risk losing to a quote unquote smaller conference team. And it's the same for an ECU or a Charlotte or anybody in state. But I love the in-state games.
The worst thing that could happen to North Carolina is App State like you said, they win those games and they keep growing at a fast pace. The next thing you know, the ACC or another Power 5 does want them to come into the conference. Now you're going to be losing more recruits. They already lose recruits to App State. You're going to lose even more recruits to App State if they continue to grow the way they're growing. And I mean, you lose what? Last year was it 2 overtimes, and then this year was 2 overtimes. Maybe it was 3 last year. I can't remember. But 2 games back to back that are just like classics.
Yep.
Like the old ESPN classic games.
Yep.
And it's good for the state of North Carolina. It's not even just good for UNC and App State. It's good for the state. So I disagree with that as well with Mac Brown. But yeah, he probably just don't want that smoke. He's okay. This is enough.
Yeah, he's over
enough
it.
App State. Yeah.
They beat him one time, and they almost beat him the next 2. And then, but at the same time, you know, I know North Carolina has a decent fan base, but I promise that stadium ain't rocking like it's rocking when people of Boone travel to it. I mean, it's not like it's a place that's just always electric sellout crowd, but it is when App State comes to town. So, I mean, you want to sell tickets, you want a great environment. Those are the kind of games you need, especially when they live up to expectation every time. But we can't talk about that all night. We can talk about Middle too. Should have beat Missouri. Had an opportunity still at the end. I want to say this. That receiver Olsen, speaking of North Carolina, a North Carolina transfer, what a freaking pickup that was for Middle. That guy's a baller. And, you know, Jesse called it after they played Bama last week, and it's even more so, you know, now because they should have beaten. I think they outplayed Missouri for a lot of that game. And again, I mean, I don't want to say me and Tip had them playing for the conference championship, but we did. I'm more confident in that now after these last 2 weeks. But again, I think they got robbed, man.
Yeah,
it's definitely unfortunate.
Yeah, I think they played pretty much toe-to-toe with Missouri, and you could kind of see it on their coach's face down the stretch. Like he was trying to get out of that game with their life, and they lucked out and did. But I thought Vadiato, he's looking better and better, you know, from week 1 to week 2. I think they believe in him, and like you said, Olsen's a dog. He is making contested, strong-handed catches in traffic, and they needed somebody to step up at that receiver position after losing so much. So it seems like they found him. They got a stable of running backs this year, not just Frank Peasant. So I'll tell you who was way off. UTEP is looking rough. And I don't know what the deal is. They on paper should look a whole lot better, but got smacked by Northwestern. Goodness.
Yeah, and then I'll tell you the biggest disappointment from the weekend is, and we mentioned it a little bit on our Saturday pregame show, the MAC, man. I mean, NIU, I thought they might have a little bit of a letdown game, but I didn't think it would be that much of a letdown game. Now, here's the other thing. Turns out Boston College, they're not very good because they almost lost again to Holy Cross over the weekend. So you find out it's too early in the year to know who's good and who's not good, really, but man, NIU, I mean, the game doesn't affect their season at all going forward. They can still win the MAC, but you gotta follow up that win with a big performance. You have to at home.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is you can't turn the ball over. Rocky Lombardi had 3 interceptions. They failed to score their last 4 possessions of the game, and I don't know what the disconnect is, but you can't expect to win very many games giving the other offense that many extra opportunities.
Yeah, and then, you know, Buffalo, not that they were coming off of a massive win, but they lose to an FCS school in Fordham. Rams. I mean, not a good showing from the MAC this weekend.
Akron wins by 3 against Morgan State, so yeah.
Well, for Akron, yeah,
I know, but it's just it's one of those deals where, you know, if you want to try to separate yourselves, then you gotta win these games. Group of 5 really let me down this weekend. I'm in a salty mood. Group of 5 really let me down. NIU was my dark horse. I thought they were gonna have Lombardi in New York. That was an ultimate like ass gas. Buffalo loses to Fordham, like that was just ass gas. Idaho over Nevada. I mean, I get Nevada wasn't a strong team, but my God, Central Michigan 3-point win over New Hampshire. What is going on here? and then we can't finish. We can't finish. I'm sorry. We can say PI, App State, PI. Don't go to overtime. Win the game. Like it's just James Madison was like the only highlight I saw this week where I was like, okay, good for James Madison. You know, I feel like we still don't praise them enough. I think this podcast, we can say James Madison's the real deal. I love the fan. I know App State showed up to North Carolina, but did y'all watch that game? Did y'all get a chance to? James Madison
throwing the streamers
was all over Virginia, all over them. And then, I mean, we're going to get to it, but Troy really upset me. That was my team to make it to the New Year's Six, and now I'm questioning. I'm excited we're going to get this weekend, but that was just atrocious what happened there. We could say that they were holding all night, but it was not a good showing by Troy.
Yeah, well, let's look at let's talk about our trip to Coastal real quick, and then we'll talk about a little bit more of the better games from the weekend. And this whole show, by the way, this is presented by Trojans Together. This is the Troy NIL Collective. They're sponsoring our trip down to Troy this weekend. It's going to be a really good time. We'll probably be on set about 9 a.m. Central Time. Not entirely sure when we're going to start our show. It'll be somewhere between 9 and 10 Central Time. But come hang out. There's going to be a bunch of people from the collective down there hanging out. Probably have a special guest jump on the show for an interview. And then we'll have some food. It'll be a really good time. And then I think we're going to go out for maybe some cold drinks and food post-show before we get started on tailgating. So it should be a really good time. But Trojans Together, Chuck, Jason, appreciate y'all so much, man. We can't wait to see you guys on Saturday. Now, speaking of seeing you, we saw Steeple and Conway. Steeple, if you're listening, great to meet you, brother. Great to meet your family. Glad we got to see you. We got a little scared with a little bit of rain, but glad we got to hang out, watch a little bit of the game with you, watch your son have the big ball down the sideline there early in the first quarter. Coastal, you know, so we did the time lapse. We got to edit the video, by the way, Jeff.
I know. I'll try and get that out this week.
I will preface this by saying that whole town, there's a lot of up and down in the speed limit. Lot of highway patrol officers all over the place. There's traffic everywhere, especially on a Friday night, it appears. A lot of traffic lights. 26 minutes and 43 seconds it took to get from the ticket office at Brooks Stadium to the boardwalk on Myrtle Beach. So
what you're telling me is
take that for what it's worth.
They're not, and Conway is not in Myrtle Beach.
Well, I wish we should have done it. We should have done like remember those old science experiments you had to do in, elementary and middle school where you had to replicate the experiment? We should have done it at multiple times, multiple days of the week. That would have given us the real average.
Sample size was not large enough.
No, not a very good sample size, not a good control group, as you would call it. What do we say? About 10 miles as the Chanticleer flies is what it is. But, it's not. Here's the deal, man. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, and you would say I was pretty close to the beach, and I probably lived 20 minutes from, feet in sand. So you could claim it. I think if it took 26 minutes on a Friday afternoon at like 5:30, what time? 6 o'clock. Yeah,
there was a lot of traffic, and we had a lot of red lights.
A lot of traffic. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We did want to be factual in our information on that. As far as the campus goes, nice campus, small student body. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that was only about a 10,000 student university. Isn't that what he said?
Yeah.
But palm trees all over campus, nice brick structures everywhere. It's a relatively new school. A lot of room. We talked about this a little bit on our Saturday show, but there's a lot of space. So they got full 100-yard indoor enclosed coming soon. They broke ground on it this past week, and there's just plenty of room for it. So that's what you like to see. You like to see them taking advantage of these last few years where they've really grown in popularity and upgrading the facilities. And I mean, can't say anything negative about it, really.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed their stadium. You got the surf turf. I love the big board in the end zone where there is no seats, where you can kind of see out and there's just like palm trees behind it. I just love kind of the layout of it, and I think he said it held about 21,000. It looked a whole lot bigger than that, but I think
Yeah.
it's, again, what we're kind of seeing with Tulane, like they're perfect sizes for what their fan base is. And I mean, it felt super packed, other than the visiting side upper deck was a little empty, but the student section was packed out, and in the one end zone seating that they did have, and how that wrapped around all the way into the corner. So the students showed up. It was a great atmosphere, and it was just a great time. And like you said, it was just awesome to get to meet Steeple and his family. That guy's he's top notch, one of a kind, Group of Five guy without question.
You know what I want to mention, because you brought it up, Jeff, about the student sections, both at Coastal and at Tulane. Both student sections were pretty full well before kickoff. And especially at Coastal, the tailgate ain't really that close to the stadium.
No.
So people are having to leave their tailgate 45, 30 minutes before kickoff to get in there, and they did. And the student section, like I said, it was filled up. I mean, we got in there, 30 minutes before kickoff, and the student section was pretty full by the time we got in there.
Yeah,
So
and let me say this
gotta give
too,
them credit.
Sprouse. I think from the university as a whole, like the way, like they have shuttles that run to the lots where people tailgate, like further out, and we rode the shuttle in. Like, it was very efficient, very top notch. Those shuttles are running throughout the entire game, before the game and post game, and they drop you off right in like this. They call it like the sports complex. It's got the baseball field, it's got the weight room, it's got the football field, it's got tennis courts, it's got all this stuff, and it's like you kind of walk down this. It kind of reminded me almost like a theme park when you kind of walked down the main entrance to get to it. And it just was set up, I thought, very well. Everything worked very well. It was great. And we had the wives and kids, so like it was very, useful and helpful to just have kind of everything right there when it dropped you off and then picked us up. So, shout out to Coastal, just the way they have it set up, and it was put on very well.
Yeah, I agree. And again, shout out to their fans and their students for showing up. Like you said, the whole home side was pretty full. On the game now, I know Coastal got the win. Jacksonville State is pretty good, and they're going to be pretty competitive all year long in Conference USA. That little running back they got is a problem. Their defense, I mean, it took Coastal, until after the weather delay and then late in the second half before they really pulled away and scored a bunch of points. So look out for Jacksonville State. I mean, they showed out. Me and Tip noticed they from the stands, they look a little undersized. They look a little smaller, I think, than most, but I mean, don't seem to bother them.
They can pound the rock, that's for sure.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and that's something we were wanting to look at, right? And you could tell like Jacksonville State was running the ball effectively early in that game, and was kind of forcing Coastal to to throw the ball a little bit. And Coastal was having success, but it was a close game early on, and they Coastal broke away there in the second half, and Murph called it. It turned into a Jared Brown game. Sam Pinckney still had 4 catches for 63 yards. Great game. Jared Brown, 7 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown. Also had a 77-yard rush for a touchdown. So big game there from Jared Brown.
Yeah, and Coastal, I mean, they look good. They looked apart. Again, it's a little early to tell, especially with how not so great a lot of these teams have looked so far this year. So,
Yeah, and Jacksonville State, I'll say this too, and this is twice they've put in Logan Smothers as their quarterback. He is so much better of a thrower. It just gives them that extra element to that offense that they need. Because Zion Webb, I mean, he was 9 of 18 with 150 yards before he got yanked, and we saw that last week as well. They got the win last week, but they got to be a two-dimensional offense, And until they can figure that out, I think Smothers is the better candidate because he can run too. I think they're going to be better off going with Smothers just in general moving forward. So,
That is so strange.
what is?
I say it's strange, but it's just no one probably saw Zion Webb be getting yanked from consecutive games. A 7-year guy with so much experience, and he's a baller. He was a baller in the FCS. That's just. I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know he got yanked until you just said that. So I'm over here. I was like, wow. So was he throwing a bunch of picks?
No, he just wasn't very effective. So like, what's happened kind of in the last 2 weeks is people just start loading the box, and he's unable to complete passes. He's just not efficient. And in that offense, if you can have somewhat of an efficient passing game to go along with that great running attack, and you do have to have somewhat of an athlete at the quarterback position to pull it and run. And I just think Smothers gives them that, that extra dynamic that they've been missing in that offense.
Interesting.
Sprouse, you back?
See, y'all got me all right or what?
Yep, we got you now.
Loud and clear.
How about that? Well, did y'all talk about Tulane and Ole Miss while I was gone?
we just finished recapping the Jacksonville State game.
Let me tell you something. When did he get hurt? When did Michael Pratt get injured?
Apparently, I thought he got
in
hurt
the walkthrough.
I thought he got hurt in the first quarter because I missed the first half of the first quarter.
No.
But looking at research, they said he got hurt last week.
It was an hour. It was like an hour before kickoff.
Yeah,
that we got the report, and we were just like, "Are you kidding me?" Which I don't really blame him. Like you're going to keep that close to the chest, I think.
Yeah.
And not show your hand.
Well, and the final score doesn't do that game justice, but Tulane, I mean, they were right in that game, had that pick late too. I think it was tied 17-17. They had the interception. They still had every chance to win that game even without Michael Pratt.
Yeah, and
I want to go on. Sorry, you go, Jeff. I got a tangent I'm going to go on, so you get to be positive for a while.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, shout out Kai Horton, the backup, to step in there, and
for sure,
he played well enough for them to win. They needed some more extra help around him, and I think they just really missed Pratt's escapability and running ability outside of the pocket. Creating those extra first downs when stuff's not there. But I thought he did a great job. All things considered, going up against a tough team. I don't know if he knew all week that he was starting or maybe it was a late scratch. Who knows? But shout out Kai Horton. Played his butt off in my opinion, and at least gave him a chance.
Two sides of the fence here. Two sides of the fence. I'm going to be negative for a second. You're Tulane, ranked 22nd. Kai Horton, he comes in there. I think the guy plays good enough for the team to win, but they still don't win. So are they even arguably a better team to be in the top 25? Because I know a team last night that based their whole offense around one individual that lasted 3 to 4 plays, and they still found a way to be a Buffalo Bills defense. Tulane has to win that game against Ole Miss. I watched the majority of that game. Their O-line, Sincere Haynesworth, they were destroying Ole Miss's D-line. The D-line for Tulane was destroying Ole Miss. Like, in the trenches, it's weird. I feel like Tulane won, and they were running the ball decently. There was just some mistakes that were made late in the game that it looked to be like Ole Miss was pulling away, but overall, good game. Now, that's just the negative in me. The positive, and this is total bullcrap, is how you are going to penalize Tulane for not having their best player on the field and knock them out of the top 25. And you're going to award Ole Miss 3 more spots to go to number 17. If they played any other Power 5 team that was ranked and didn't have their top player, they are not getting knocked out of the top 25. It's unfair. And I'm not the only one saying it. I'll give kudos to the guys that get paid to do this on the radio. They were talking about it. They did Tulane dirty this weekend because they lost their best player. They played good enough to beat Ole Miss. Then you're going to knock them out of the top 25. You gave them their weekend home against Ole Miss. Now we're going to take the season away from them, essentially, is what they're trying to do. Don't like it one bit. And I agree. Kai Horton did play well.
Yeah, I think now if you're Tulane, you pretty much any playoff shot is probably out the window at
Yeah.
this point. Where if you would have won that game, especially if you would have won it without Michael Pratt, you might start making a case real quick. But I mean, they still got the American in front of them. And speaking of the American, I mean, UTSA. I mean, they got the win, Jeff, against Texas State. But when are we gonna see this Frank Harris offense and these two receivers and the running back, this combination? Are we going to have to wait for them to do it in Knoxville, Tennessee before they show up? I mean, or is Texas State that good? I don't know.
I think it's a combination. I'm with you. I'm waiting on this offense to really get going, but it seems like the defense is the side of the ball that's leading this team. And, you know, that's not the worst thing in the world because I feel like this offense is going to wake up at some point. Now, you mentioned the running game. There's no problem with Kavorian Barnes. I mean, 26 carries, 103 yards. He didn't get in the end zone, but he's a workhorse. And they got to, if the formula this season, for at least the beginning anyways, is pound the rock and let your defense, chew up clock, let your defense. Frank Harris is going to get going, and I really do think he will, especially if they can get Clark back. But, I mean, Trey Moore, 7 tackles, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. It's a hell of a game. We talked about this guy before the season started. He's fitting the bill so far, but maybe UTSA is a defense-oriented team this year.
Maybe. What's your feeling on Texas State walking away from that game? Because I kind of after that game, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, Texas State, okay, just has the big Power 5 win against Baylor, who, by the way, Baylor looked okay. They looked pretty good. We saw that game. We caught some of that game while we were at the bar.
They should have beat Utah. They should have beat Utah. So yeah, and
also, I want to say this. We talked about this before our show. Baylor's students showed up for that game, and I mentioned to Jeff and Tip at the bar when that game was on, I said, if a group of 5 school loses their first game to a team that they don't think they should have lost to, most of the time the students are going to quit showing up already. And Baylor lost to an in-state, quote-unquote, inferior school, and them students were right back in their seats the following week to cheer on the Baylor. And they played a pretty good game, but they did lose again, so maybe I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, I walked away from that game thinking, there's a chance we got a conference championship game in San Antonio and in San Marcos, and maybe we could go to both of them in one day.
This may even sound crazier because I've been a Texas State hater while y'all and Jeff has been leading the pack. I look at that loss to UTSA, and I'm more on the train this weekend right now than I was. I thought last week might have been a fluke. I thought UTSA was going to come and bounce back and smoke Texas State. Not so fast. So it was at UTSA.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it was a road game for them. So I like Texas State. I think they are going to they may win the West.
I agree with you, Swaggy. I think the fact that they only lost by 7 and it was a tight game. I mean, TJ Finley did protect the ball. He wasn't as efficient as he was against Baylor, but I think that's a credit to UTSA's defense. I think Texas State is for real. I think UTSA is still one of the best teams in the American. So I just think we had a really good matchup, between both teams, and I think they're both going to have great seasons this year in their respective conferences.
Yeah, I'll know more about the West after this weekend. If Troy bounces back.
You can always tell something when you see the team live too. It's just something different. I mean, and hopefully we see something out of Troy. But staying in Texas real fast, I'm not going to just let us not say anything about Rice beating Houston. I mean, because UTSA couldn't do it. And Rice goes in there, and it's all in a sort of inner city rivalry game and gets the Power 5 win. So, I mean, JT Daniels, look out now. He showed up. He threw the ball all over the place on that Houston defense, which Frank Harris couldn't do. So, got to give a shout out to Rice on that game. I was also happy to see you got something on that, Jess?
I think Rice is pretty freaking good. They played a really good Texas team. They hung in with Texas pretty much for the long run, and And these are how they did to Houston. Look out for Rice. I mean, I
Rice
definitely
did that last
don't
year.
quote me
too,
on this.
didn't
Wasn't that a couple of our dark horse this year in the Conference USA? Might have been mine, maybe not.
You said something
No, I
about
didn't lie. I
Desi
didn't lie
because you
to
mentioned Luke McCaffrey as well.
Yeah.
He's
I
been
think we
balling
had
out
some
too.
I mean,
impact
I'm
players.
blown away that they beat Houston. I really am. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking, what? Maybe this offense is something not to be messed with.
Well, they did that last year. Remember? Didn't they start
did.
4-0
They
or
did.
5-0, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden we got to hold.
They almost
hold the water
gave
on
it
Rice.
up.
They did.
Houston scored 21 unanswered points in that fourth quarter
Dude.
to push it to OT. But no, I mean,
they
they
had-
came out with the dub. So,
Do you
They
know
had the
how?
second string and third stringer guys, and they're trying to get them work, and the other guys took their pads off already, and they had to. I make that part up. But
Do you know how like our emotions? Like, I just picture how emotional Stu was after that App State game, and then I just think of us, and we're sitting there. I'm feeling the same passion, and like 20 different games going on. Now, my heart's breaking left and right, and I think it's gonna break with the Rice Owls. But anyway,
Just
Well,
wait-
just
wait-
like we got
wait.
our heart broken like 2 or 3 games in a row, and we're like, okay, well, let's just switch over
Somebody's
and see the end of this Houston Rice game, and all of a sudden Houston ties it up. It's like, what is going on tonight? Like, oh my gosh.
you want
and
to
then
talk
our
about
heart got broken
emotions?
again with Boise
Yeah.
State right after that.
Yeah, you want to talk
Oh,
about
man.
emotions? Just wait till Terry Johnson's voicemail at the end of the show.
oh God, Terry, they are.
Yeah,
We'll get to him. We'll get to him.
Hey,
He's down
anyway,
bad.
my emotions were feeling better. Marshall showed up. Now ECU might be pretty
close.
bad,
It was close in the beginning.
but yeah, Marshall pulled away there on that game. So Marshall, I'm feeling a lot better about my pick there in the Sun Belt. Georgia Southern UAB,
Great game.
yeah, really good game, and I'm glad that we mentioned that as what was going to be one of the most exciting games of the weekend. UAB's offense is pretty damn good, but Georgia Southern's offense is really, really freaking good. So they look out in the East.
Yeah, I think UAB even though they lost that game. I think they lost. I think I'll go on a limb here. I say whoever was at home that weekend would have won that game because those two teams look pretty evenly matched, in my opinion. And Jacob Zeno with UAB, guy's a baller.
Yeah.
So that offense for UAB is pretty good. And I'm not going to take anything away from Georgia Southern. They played a pretty damn good ball game as well. I always thought that UAB Georgia Southern game was going to be a toss up because some of the Georgia Southern fans were calling in here saying, "Well, we'll beat UAB." Not so fast, but they did. They got the win, and now Georgia Southern 2-0. So
Well, in those type of shootout games, whoever usually wins the turnover battle wins those games, and UAB had 3 turnovers. And I think that's just what did it in. Is for an offense that potent, led by Davis Brin, you can't give that guy extra possessions. But I think both teams are very, very good.
effort, attitude, toughness, and turnover.
That's right. That's right. ... It's funny. A lot of these games, you look at Texas State, you look at a Tulane, you look at UAB, who comes away with a loss, but you're almost you feel better about them the rest of the way through the season. Middle Tennessee, App State too. I mean, I feel great. If I'm an App State fan right now, I feel great going into the rest of the year.
I was going back and forth with Stu in the chat. I was just saying, well, they laid a goose egg. An L's a goose egg. I got them all fired up. But in reality, yeah, if I'm App State, I'm fired up right now. Are you kidding me? Because North Carolina is ranked a top 10. They're a top 10 team, and you took them down to the double overtime. And yeah, if and buts were candy and nuts, but they should have won the game.
A goose egg would be like a shutout.
Yeah,
I know, but goose egg to
A
me,
regular
is
egg.
You
would be-
have the win right there, and you lost. And 10 years from now, they're going to say, "Oh, well, did we lose? Did we win or lose in 2022?"
that's not
No,
a
we
goose
lost.
egg.
It's a goose egg. It's an ostrich egg. It's a 0. We lost.
Anyway, here's a game. My Florida International Golden Panthers,
They're back.
they are back. Made the quarterback change, and they're 2-0 since they made the quarterback change. Keon Jenkins, Miami Central product, Jeff. Miami Central, one of them teams that has been good for years and years and years, puts out winners. Jenkins was an Auburn commit before he went to FIU. I don't know. I'm guessing he committed to Auburn, and then when the coaching change happened, he either lost the offer or something, but ends up going to FIU, comes in, just brings something else to the team. He's a true freshman though. So he's got to relax a little with the turnovers, but One thing I'll say about that game is because we were keeping track with that game, and FIU was up big, and then they blew the lead. And to me, I was like, "This is FIU. This is what they do." But the fact that they blew the lead and then went back down and scored and regained the lead and won the game shows me some growth for the old Panthers. But I was proud. I'm happy for Coach Mack, man. I was heartbroken when they blew the lead. But
Don't you know that locker room was so much fun after the game?
oh man, yeah,
that was a big win.
They probably went out to 11 after that.
No doubt.
Had a grand old time. But on the other side, North Texas. I mean, were we wrong about them or what? I don't know. I don't know what to think about North Texas right now.
I mean, I wasn't too high on them, especially with the change in their offensive scheme. I think that's just incredibly hard to do personnel wise. But, I still think they're a good team. I just don't think, they got to find an identity. I don't think they really have one right now. But it's going to be interesting to see them.
And we knew there was a chance their defense might struggle a little bit because it did struggle at times last year. So we knew that was a possibility, and it looks like that is happening. I mean, you put up 39 points. I mean, you expect to win a lot of games. But the defense is just giving up too many points, similar to they were last year.
We mentioned James Madison in the Virginia win earlier. James Madison offensively is just so balanced. They're just like, if you look at the stats, nothing really crazy jumps out from you, but they're just good. Just all around solid. The 6 guys have a catch. They ran the ball with 5 or 6 different guys. Quarterback didn't turn it over. I mean, they got a freaking squad, and they can score, and they got a really good offensive line. And Troy's defense better be the Troy defense of last year if they want to win that game this weekend.
Just watching that game, the Virginia James Madison game, sometimes you can just tell. And it was so evident that James Madison just wanted that game so much more than Virginia. And the D line, they were just getting after it. The O line could not block James Madison whatsoever. So going back to what you said, I don't know how good the O line is from Troy. I mean, maybe you get a different referee in there, ref, so they don't have any holding calls. Oh, sorry, that was Kansas State that was holding. Yeah, but that James Madison D line, they're going to be coming, man. They look good. They look real good.
Yeah, and you mentioned that defense, 4 sacks, but 10 tackles for loss against Virginia. And I'm just happy that this is kind of a tricky game sometimes where normally you're the underdog, but they were favored and you're on the road. So shout out for them getting it done, getting a huge win in a favored game.
Yeah,
in a hostile
you got to
Virginia
win those
environment.
Yeah, you got to win that one.
Yeah. Late game. Thought we had it in the bag. Boise State. UCF's kicker comes up clutch. But Boise had the chance, man. If they scored, they missed the 2-point conversion, and then UCF was able to kick the field goal to win it. But yeah, I feel better about Boise too than I did a week ago. I mean, UCF is a pretty good team. I don't think that they're great. Boise, I think, outside of Fresno State, is still one of the better teams in the Mountain West.
I think Washington's really good.
Yeah, I think they might be pretty good.
Washington's pretty good.
Pac-12's
really
Pac-12's best conference in football.
It looks that way. They're looking pretty good.
Colorado is going to be in the playoff. Cordell Stewart's going to be coming in there. They're going to get 5 downs, take a knee, and clock it on the 5th down.
Fan.
Yeah.
Boise needs. I mean, Genty is the real deal, and he showed that both running the ball and catching the ball. But Halani didn't play; he was injured, and then Taylon Green goes out late in the game. Not sure exactly what that injury was, but he's got to be a little bit better, be a little bit more efficient. But they should have beat UCF. That defense did their part, got turnovers for that offense. The offense has got to do their job.
When did Plumlee went out too? That was super late, wasn't it, in that game?
Yeah, I think so. He had 2 picks too before he went out. So
he'll give it up. Yeah, frustrating, man, especially at home. Especially now that UCF is a Power 5 team, you had it right in front of you. You let them off the hook. One game I want to talk about, and then I want to see if you guys have any other games we hadn't hit yet. Dude, Sam Houston I'm telling you, their defense, they might be the best defense in football. I mean, you hold Air Force to 3 points until late in the fourth quarter, and you lose to Air Force 13-3. Now, their offense might be the worst offense in football because they haven't scored yet.
I was going to say they're the best team in football that hasn't scored on offense.
They are, but you hold BYU to 14 points and then Air Force to 13 points back-to-back weeks. I mean, I think somebody had them as their dark horse in the conference too.
That was
Yeah,
you.
well, they're not. Well, they better figure out how to score some points. It's great if you can hold people to 7, 10, or 13, but if you can't put anything in the end zone,
Well,
doesn't
we did. We should have had that one as our lock for the under last week because we talked about it on Saturday morning. We were like, over under was 36, and we were just, and it was just going down and down. And I was like, unless that thing is like 20, keep taking the under. Sure as hell could have taken it at 16. But anyway, Jeff, I think you said you had one other game you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I actually had a couple that I just wanted to rip off real quick that were interesting games, to say the least, in my opinion. We haven't really talked about them much, and I know it was against Idaho State. Utah State put up 78 points. I don't care who you're playing. That is a ton of points on offense. Doesn't mean they're back. Doesn't mean they're going to be a team to beat in the Mountain West. Just keep an eye out for them. They only lost the last week or the week before to 25 ranked Iowa by 10 points. So just an interesting note there. Miami of Ohio beats UMass. I think UMass is better than people think. So Miami of Ohio gets a much needed win. But I want to highlight a player that nobody's probably heard of. Gage Laverdane. 8 receptions, 273 yards, and 3 touchdown performance. I know it's against UMass. I don't care. You have that type of performance, that is massive. And we were wondering who was going to step up for Brett Gabbert. I think this guy could be the answer. He's a transfer from Southeast Louisiana. So keep an eye out for that name. Could be a big-time player. And then another late scratch, or I guess addition to the lineup, Curtis Rourke played for Ohio against FAU, and they win.
Yep.
Now, it was only 17-10. He played well enough for them to win.
It's a good Florida Atlantic team.
A very good Florida Atlantic team. Who Casey Thompson, he disappointed me a little bit. He had a great week prior, and then he comes out, and I don't think Ohio's defense is like, world beaters or anything, but did not play very well. So he's got to be a lot more consistent if people want to take FAU seriously.
You brought up Utah State. They play Air Force on Friday night. This would be the game that Air Force that loses, and then they'll go beat Boise State or something like that. But Air Force hadn't scored much. If Utah State can score half of what they scored, they're going to win that game.
Well, I just want to. I thought no, I don't want to say anything because I have one game, and Tipton may have the same game. I'm not going to say much about it, but I thought I was going to be a genius here because I called at the beginning of the season. I said Biff Poggi, he goes to Maryland, he beats Maryland. Maryland loses their coach. He's going to be the next coach at Maryland. Looked to be like that was going to happen. Comes out swinging with a cigar in the mouth, and it's really funny. I was listening the next day. Going to get some breakfast, listening to the next day, college game day ends, whatever. Like, do you see Biff Poggi on his NBC debut wearing a sweater with his chest hair hanging out, looking like giving him a lot of hell? I was like, dude, the guy's been doing this forever. He probably could buy you and sell you at the same time. So Biff Poggi goes in there swinging, but then they just cannot hold on to it. I didn't get to see the second half. I was just keeping up with it on my phone. It looks like Maryland came out swinging and, took on like 30 points in the second half. But Charlotte looked good. Charlotte's going to be competitive. I'm excited about them even more now going on to the remainder of the season.
Well, their defense is pretty good. That's why they went up, is they had a pick 6 early. So, but their offense, I want to say they made or are looking to maybe make a quarterback change this week. I think I saw where their depth chart, when they put, quarterback or another quarterback. So they have 2 quarterbacks listed on the depth chart this week. So not sure what they're going to do, but yeah, they did. That was one we were like, here we go. Charlotte.
It was like 14-0, like
Yeah.
middle of the first quarter.
Yeah. Tip, you got any other games, or are we ready to move on to some gambling?
I was just going to highlight real quick. Toledo beat Texas Southern, but put up 71 points. So I mean, they look as of right now to be the favorite in the MAC. Just the way these other MAC teams are playing. But we'll just see. Kind of how Curtis Warwick look as this season goes on. I just don't think he's 100% healthy right now. That's just my feeling on that. So I see Toledo as the front runner in the MAC right now. But going back to Charlotte, what Jesse was saying, they are playing Georgia State this week at home, 7.5-point dogs at home, and we all know how we like a good home dog. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Especially Charlotte, place is gonna be rocking. Do y'all feel? Let me propose quick question. Sun Belt Conference. Tip and Jesse, you had Troy. Murphy, you had Coastal. I had Marshall. More or less confident starting right now than you were preseason? Go.
Less.
More.
Less.
Same.
Sold. To the moon.
Coastal.
I'll know more this weekend. This weekend. I mean, Kansas State, I really thought Troy's going to go in there, and if they were going to lose maybe by 3 or 7 points, seeing a devastating loss by almost 3 scores, I mean, yeah, I'm not as confident, especially after seeing what Texas State's doing right now. So, yeah, I'm definitely less.
I've been to Conway, boys. I've drank the water. I've seen the Chanticleer fly. My prediction is more valid and more cemented in my heart than ever before.
All right. American Conference. Tip and Murph, UTSA. Swag, Tulane. Me, SMU. I'm very confident in SMU, actually. It's somebody we hadn't talked about because they almost took it. They almost beat Oklahoma.
Yeah, and I'm still and that was a good call, Tip. I was thinking about you the whole time. I was like, damn. I'm going to stick with Tulane. I think they're still the overall best team, especially if they got Pratt.
I feel the same about UTSA. We're not seeing this high flying offense like we've seen in the past few years, but like what Murph mentioned earlier in this podcast, the defense is what's stepping up right now, and we know this offense is going to get rolling. I think when JT Clark comes back into this offense, I think it's just gonna elevate this offense even more. So I feel the same. I feel good about UTSA.
Ditto.
Mountain West. Tip, Sprouse, Swag, Boise State, Murph, San Jose State. I'm less confident.
I'm less confident because of how well Mikey Keene and Fresno State are playing right now. I think they're the top team right now in the Mountain West.
Same goes for me for what Tip said.
I feel about the same, maybe a little bit more, just because I was worried about Boise and they're having some issues right now. And I think when you have a quarterback that's a dual threat guy, he's a baller, he can win you games. Now you're going to have more from the defense out of San Jose State, but I like where we're sitting.
In the MAC, Tip and Murph, Ohio. Swag, NIU. Me, Toledo. I am real confident right now.
I'm jumping ship and swimming to a different shore. I'm off that boat, off of it.
I still feel the same for Ohio. Like I just mentioned, we'll see how Curtis Warwick does and how as he gets healthier through the season. I still like the Bobcats. I do think Toledo though is, like I mentioned earlier, I think they're the top team in the MAC right now. But I still feel good about Ohio.
Yeah, sample size isn't large enough yet. Curtis Warwick has got to stay on the field, so I'm about the same.
Conference USA, Tip, Sprouse, and Murph had Western Kentucky. Jeff, you had Western over UTEP. Bad call. Swag had Liberty over Western. I'm the same, but I am very confident in the fact that I have Western versus Middle right now. Oh, no.
I'm going Blue Raiders. This is their year. I'm on the Blue Raider train. Just after watching the Alabama game and seeing, and I called it, they're going to play. I thought they're going to beat Missouri. And they should have. I'm taking the Blue Raiders, man. Call me Jeff Murphy 2022. I am bleeding blue for this year. Well, it's every year, but this year they're going to win it all.
Yeah, I feel great about same thing with you, Sprouse, about the Western Kentucky playing MTSU. I feel great about that. Although Liberty does look good, it's going to be two of those three teams I feel like are going to play each other in that conference championship game. But man, MTSU just the size, the size on the line.
Told you the boys are big.
Oh my gosh, that gives me so. It makes me feel real good. And just to see the offense as a whole. I know they played Alabama week 1, but I mean I thought they looked great last week against Missouri. So feeling really confident about MTSU this year.
You know what? It's early. All right. They're 1-2. UTEP's 1-2. They got some time to figure this thing out. Let's not be rash here. They could make a run. They're only 0-1 in the conference.
That's true.
Got time.
That's true.
So the Blue Raiders are not winning the Conference USA this year, Jeff?
Stay off the bandwagon, Jeff.
I mean,
you're the problem.
I'm always I bleed blue probably more than all three of y'all. So, but I'm gonna stick with my pick. Not gonna switch up yet.
Do we have a Southern Roots commercial, Jeff?
We do have a Southern Roots commercial. Let's get to it. Are you tired of listening to the same music playlist? We got just what you need. Southern Roots Radio is an audio magazine rooted in Americana, curating music, culture, and sports to a stubbornly independent audience. Go check them out at southernrootsradio.com, or you can download their app on either the Apple or Google Play Store. Southern Roots Radio. Come on in and stay a while.
So let's make some picks here. Presented by Southern Roots in their Pick 6 segment. Lock of the week. We've got UAB -2 versus Louisiana. Sorry, Terry, but y'all ain't very good. UAB appears to be pretty good. We're taking UAB -2 versus Louisiana. Is that I didn't even look. Is that game in Birmingham or is it in Lafayette? I think it's in Birmingham.
Hold on one second.
It is in Birmingham.
There you go.
Well,
good luck.
Yeah, that's a nice pick. Underdog of the week. We are taking North Texas on the road at La Tech, money line +165. North Texas, we talked about them earlier, a little bit of an unknown with North Texas, but La Tech, they haven't looked great. Even in their win versus FIU, they hadn't looked fantastic.
Well, I'll say this too. I really hope, Stone Earl has not looked great, and they made the switch late in that game last week to Chandler Rogers. I think he's the better choice. So I hope they start him in this game. They do. I think that offense moves a whole lot better.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then over under, I think this is an easy one. ECU at App State, we're taking under 50.5, and I believe that number continues to move as the day goes. But ECU, I mean, they hadn't really scored much at all yet this year, so and App State's not an air raid run and shoot kind of a team. So we're taking under 50.5 ECU at App State. And then Prize Picks player props. By the way, download the app. Use our code GOFG for a $100 deposit match. By the way, y'all gave me that pick we put together the other night in Myrtle Beach. I know Pratt didn't play. He got the DNP. I was a Josh Cephas pick away from going 6 for 6 on that thing and winning about $500. But we hit Nate Noel, we hit Lawrence Keys, we hit Kavorian Barnes, and then you guys told me not to, and it happened late, but I had Jermaine Burton, Alabama's receiver, going over on yards, over 47.5. But, one away. But anyway, what do we always say? Take the number one receiver as long as it's 5.5 or less. Take the over. If it's 6.5, you can't do it. It's too risky. So take 5.5 on a number 1 receiver with Prize Picks. Jeff, I don't want to make light of people that may have anxiety or depression or are going through hard things in life, but our hotline is there for those people that are depressed strictly because of their college football team to call and vent. We are here to listen. We are here to support you, hopefully. 615-900-4286. We are at that point in the season. We're 2.5 weeks in, essentially, where you might think it's all over. It's not. There's still stuff to play for. There's still reason to cheer and support your program. Jeff, we got 7 of them. Hopefully, everybody is remaining positive after week 2 of football games.
Yeah, we had a couple of those people that just needed to vent and get some stuff off their chest. So let's start with those ones first, and then we'll get to some of the more positive ones.
What's up, Group of 5 guys? Terry Johnson here. Hope you enjoyed your trip to Conway and Myrtle Beach, because they're 2 separate places. They're not the same thing. They're 2 separate places in South Carolina, so I'm happy you guys exercise geography and know that those places are different. Happy you guys got to see, Steeple. Had a good time with him. That was really cool to see, not going to lie. It's just really awesome that college football brings everybody together and we can all just hang out at a time. That was really cool to see. Happy to see JMU beat Virginia to the Power 5 win. Sad to see, App to lose North Carolina again. Sorry, Stu. I know, and everybody's cheering for you. And, my Cajuns just, I'm going to curse on this podcast. So, the Cajuns just it up and allowed 400 yards passing. It seemed like 400 yards passing. I really don't know. Like 100 yards passing to a backup FCS quarterback in Grant Wilson at ODU. And just kept us getting deep. We had a lot of deficiencies in the secondary, decided not to go to the transfer portal to replace any of them, decided to bring, freshmen and walk-ons to be a part of the secondary, and didn't try to get any fucking DBs out of the transfer portal. And we're getting left behind. Texas State, better than us. Troy, better than us. South Alabama, better than us. Other than Arkansas State, I think we're the worst team in the West. I think ULM might be better. Just from the deficiencies in the recruiting, the is looking bad. And I know it's week 2, and I shouldn't be all doom and gloom, but yesterday showed me a lot. I really want this team and this coaching staff to prove me wrong, but they showed me that, one, they can't recruit and replace talent whenever it gets posted in the transfer portal. We refuse to recruit correctly, and everybody else in the conference is losing us behind. Everyone. It's f***ing infuriating. I can't stand it. Can't stand it. And who knows how long the team can stay together if we lose games like this to teams that I know should not be better than us. Y'all have a great day, man. God bless you for 5. God bless you for 5, guys. With patience.
That guy cares, man.
I have to agree with him. They're horrible, and I think they might be the worst team in the West. And they have to go to Arkansas State November 4th. Home field advantage in Jonesboro.
They're going to win that game.
We'll see.
Here's the deal.
It was bad.
He brought up a good point, though, about not addressing problems in the portal. And a lot of these coaches are hesitant or they don't like the portal. So, look at Dabo. Look at Clemson just absolutely falling apart because Dabo refuses to, adjust to the times, I guess, and use the portal.
You have
as
to.
much as we don't like the portal, you got to. And then on the other side, you see Colorado, you see Texas State, you see SMU, you see Charlotte, who put together pretty good teams coming off of pretty bad teams just by using the portal. Thanks for the call, Terry. It'll get better,
you're just
man.
looking at the rest of the schedule that they have. It's tough. Texas State comes to town. It's just, I do think they go to Arkansas State and they beat Arkansas State. I don't think Arkansas State's going to win a game this year. I mean, they are
Agreed.
bad.
Pretty bad.
They are really bad.
That's so crazy.
Have you seen? I know we got voicemails, but when they were losing to Oklahoma, how a player had to consult like Butch Jones.
Yes.
He was just he just looked like he was just lost.
Yes, man.
Like his soul left his body.
It's bad because I do feel bad for him and for our other Arkansas State players, but in the back of my mind, I just still have all the Tennessee fans that thought Butch Jones was the savior. They were ready to build him a statue in Knoxville after one recruiting class, and just how that has collapsed. I mean, anyway, they had to do a 30 for 30 on Butch Jones.
They will.
Yeah. Well, appreciate it, Terry. Hang in there, buddy. Hopefully brighter days are ahead. We'll see. I don't know. Let's get to our next one. Boy, Stu's right.
Oh, no.
Yes.
And he left 2 initial voicemails that I'm not going to play. We let the emotions die down.
Smart.
Played his the next day voicemail.
Hey boys, Stu's right from Twitter here. Come down a little bit from last night, the emotions. Shout out to Murph. You know what's going on. All in all, thrilled with our performance. We should have won the game. We didn't play a clean game. Threw a pick, 2 fumbles, and still went to overtime and had to lead, I think, 3 times in the fourth quarter or in the second half. Those are the ones you got to win, and it kills me to lose those games, especially to the assholes at North Carolina. Drives me crazy. Some positives, though. Nate Noel he had 127 rush yards, back-to-back 100-yard games. Joey Aguilar threw 2 touchdowns and 275. That was awesome. North Carolina, after their 9-sack performance and the best defensive line they've ever had, I don't think we allowed a sack on Joey Aguilar. That was huge. Both lines played well. The defense played a great game. It looked to me like Joey Aguilar went toe-to-toe with Drake May, which is incredible. I'm incredibly encouraged. I think our ceiling continues to rise. Putting the Sun Belt on notice. Anyways, God bless Group of 5. They say Terry Johnson. See y'all.
He said, "God bless Terry Johnson."
Take a page. Take a
Oh,
page.
thanks. God bless Terry Johnson.
Yeah. Well, Stu, you ain't Terry Johnson. So I mean, he's right.
Yeah.
Again, they outplayed him in the game, and that game means nothing going forward for App State. So as far as conference play goes, so
I think we got to give credit to App State defense too. I mean, Drake May's been talked about as a possible, Heisman finalist, and they didn't allow him to throw a single touchdown pass in this game, and limited him to 208 passing yards. We if you guys remember how inconsistent App State's defense was last season, so it's good to see this defense improving, but also just the team as a whole. They look good this year. I know that's a tough loss, especially just how that game went into double overtime, and to lose on a questionable pass interference call there at the end. But yeah, a lot of positives. I mean, I think App State's gonna have a great season.
well, and the question for them is how do they respond to that loss? Because last year, they had the Troy game after that, or they had the A&M win, and then they had the Troy game, and then all of a sudden it kind of fell apart for them. So this year, can they build off this? I think when they play ECU this week, ECU, look out. Y'all about to be 0-3. So you'll be all right, Stu.
Yeah, App State's in a good spot. I think they'll be all right. All right, let's get to our next one, Zach Branner.
Good morning, boys. It is Monday. It is a sour day. I hadn't had to call in on a loss for quite some time now. Actually, year to date, it's been a year since I last had to give a call after a loss. So, call you guys when we win. I'll call you when we lose. It was a tough one. I'm proud of the guys. I'm proud of them. They battled their ass off. You know, I know some comments during the Group of Five pregame show was worried about our defense. Actually, our defense played fairly well. I mean, in the beginning of the second half, going into the fourth, we only allowed 37 yards in the third quarter, but then we only had 5 yards. So, offensively. So, you know, there was give and take there. On defense, Richard Jubidor, Javon Solomon, Jaden McDonald, Reddy Stewart, man, dog. He's a dog. He's going to ball out. He is balling out. He's had an interception in the first 2 games. First play on defense, actually, 2 weeks ago was interception 6-6. So, defensively, I really am not worried. Offensively, you know, it showed that we've got to be a little bit stronger up front. You know, Kansas State showed why they're the 15th ranked team in the country. You know, they were a really good team. We hung in there for as long as we could. Don't want to pin a loss on the refs, but you know the calling was atrocious. So my vote for the week was that for a group of refs, they get my atrocious award because holy shit, at the f***ing holding calls in there. My God. I know I sent Jeff a message about it. It was pretty bad. That's like going in at halftime just killed our momentum. But we got JMU this week. It'll be exciting. It's going to be a really good matchup. I'm excited to watch it for sure. It'll be a nice crowd at Veteran Memorial Stadium. So, hey, time to go 1-0 this week, boys. Never and always, one Troy. Let's go get them.
Appreciate it, Zach. Big game, big matchup this week.
As that call is coming in, I'm reading tweets. Seems we are invited to the front porch in Troy on Saturday after the game. Well, I'm not going. I'm just going to say it right now. I'm not going. Trying to make the students stay for the whole game. Sidelines Troy is tweeting it out that we're going to call them out if they leave early, which that's 100% accurate. We will do that. They ain't got nothing else to watch. It's a night game. There's no other, you know, they don't have to watch the Tide or Auburn on Saturday.
Well,
so
they did a good job last year. We went to the game. I think it was during a holiday.
Yeah, it was
they're
like
on fall break or something.
Yeah.
Students were still there. So they were actually telling us they were disappointed in the showing. They were like, I'm sorry. I'm like, that's great.
Looks good
so
to me.
I'm excited to see what it's probably going to be even twice as good this Saturday.
And wasn't that no, that was a night game, wasn't it?
It was a night game.
Or either that or like a late afternoon game. We got a night game.
It was later in the year we went, so it probably was like a
4 o'clock. Yeah, something like that. But hopefully we should have a really good tailgate out there. We're going to be out there in the morning doing the show. Going to go eat some food, and then we'll be back out there ready to get after it. So I'm excited to see a non-fall break tailgate. And hopefully some of these James Madison fans are going to make the trip down. Maybe they'll introduce themselves. Maybe say their name once in a while and you know, look somebody in the eye and not being all salty because we don't pick them. Which, by the way, if they come to the show, I don't know. I don't know my pick yet on that game, Jeff.
It's going to be a tough one, but Troy faithful better show up because they're going to need every single one of you. It's going to be a good game.
Want to help that defense be loud, show up.
Absolutely. All right. It's all the sad ones, I guess I could say. Let's start getting some of the more positive ones. Jim Cowart from Georgia Southern.
Group of Five guys, good morning. This is Jim Cowart. I hadn't called in a while, but I hope you're all doing well. Show's awesome. Been listening all year since last season. Good content, fellas. I'm enjoying it. Anyway, Georgia Southern got a good win over a good UAB team. That was a interesting game to say the least, but we came away with a W. Looking forward to going to Madison this weekend, and hopefully we show out at Wisconsin, hopefully. Anyway, just wanted to talk to you guys about that game. What do you think Georgia Southern's chances are of coming out with a W next weekend? And before I go, I'd like to shout out to App State. That was a heartbreaker, fellas. I was rooting for you. Always root for my conference mates and other Group of Five teams rather when they play Power 5. Good showing so far. Congrats to JMU on a good Virginia win. Hope everybody has a great week, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Jim.
Oh, well, Wisconsin is not very good. They're not as good as they've been in the past in the Big Ten. They played a relatively close game versus Buffalo, and they lost to Washington State this past weekend. So now they were ranked before that. I know they got Mordecai at quarterback, so they've got a quarterback, which they haven't had in a long time. But
that's gonna be the biggest thing. It's just slow him down.
Yeah.
But I mean, Georgia Southern has the offense to outscore him, and so I think that alone gives them a good chance to beat Wisconsin.
Well, here's the deal. What are we now? We've got 6 wins over Power 5 so far in this year. We need 2 more to get Jesse's prediction. So we need it.
If I'm a Power 5 team, Georgia Southern is probably one of the Group of 5 teams I don't want to play, and it's a 19-point spread. I think Georgia Southern is going to cover that easily. I'm with y'all. I think Wisconsin might be overrated. I think Tip said it preseason that Wisconsin was going to be overrated this year. So one of my Group of 5 games against Power 5 this week I'm looking at closely as a potential upset. So I think they should not be intimidated at all. I'm going to see those, what are they, the Honey Badgers or Badgers or whatever. Go get them.
Badgers.
Badgers.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to play them. I mean, they went up to Nebraska last year and got the win. So see if they can do it again.
Yep. Appreciate it, Jim. Anytime you throw the ball like that, you're always going to have a chance to beat anybody. So let's go to our boy, Zach Green. Liberty is 2-0.
What's up, guys? Zach Green here. It's another great day to be a Liberty Flame. 2-0 on the season, 1-0 in conference, first ever FBS conference win. The Flames got it done in a lot of ways on Saturday. Caden Salter really ripped it on Saturday more than he even did on the last game. So I was happy to see with the more longer downfield passes. It included a 60-yard ball that passed 60 yards through the air, not even after the catch. To C.J. Daniels, he had 2 touchdown passes. He did have 1 turnover today, so that little problem has creeped its head out again. But he is looking really good overall. Plenty of time in the pocket thanks to the O-line. O-line is looking excellent this year. The O-line also helped Quentin Cooley and Billy Lucas get a lot of rushing yards back there in the backfield, especially coming out of the second half. Liberty had a 9-minute, 17-play drive that really kind of broke the backs of New Mexico State that involved a lot of running. So pretty balanced attack. Really pleased with the running backs. Really pleased with Caden Salter. Pleased with the receivers that were involved. We even had a tight end touchdown, Bentley Hanshaw, and pleased with the O-line, of course. The defense, we still had more action in the takeaway game, 3 turnovers, 2 interceptions. That's still a big deal. That's huge for us. So I'm loving the ball hawks back there. But we do have some work to do on getting pressure on the quarterback and stopping the rush game. That was not so hot. New Mexico State kind of did what they wanted to at times on the ground, but then they had to get away from it because they got behind and had to start passing more. So for improvement in those areas, but overall really pleased with how things are going this season and overall pleased with the step forward from game 1 to game 2. Just looking at a few of the other games in Conference USA, first of all, UTEP, you're dead to me. Don't want to hear anything about you ever again the rest of the season unless you're winning games. Just an embarrassing game, 38-7 in Northwestern. Terrible. Florida International, thought I was going to have to say the same thing about them, but they're turning things around, it seems like. And so I'm glad it seems like they may actually be taking a step forward. Hopefully that remains to be the case. Sam Houston, again, stellar defense, absolutely awful offense. I don't know what they're going to do about that, but I can just see conflict in the locker room coming there between offense and defense. Jacksonville State, obviously you guys were down there. Not happy Jacksonville State lost, but happy that Steeple finally got to see you boys in Conway. I talk a lot of trash about Coastal Carolina and Conway, but I really respect the program deep down, and I respect Steeple, and glad you guys got to go there. And Coastal was the better team. So as always, thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, Zach. Liberty looks like one of the top teams in Conference USA.
Yeah, yeah, and Caden Salter, he's pretty damn good. They got to keep him upright. They got to keep him healthy because what he run for 2 and threw for 2 touchdowns this weekend. So,
well, that was our biggest question mark going into
Yep.
the season, right? Was the quarterback situation.
Yep.
It looks like they have found their quarterback.
Yep. But
Yeah,
yeah,
appreciate it,
Liberty.
Zach.
I mean,
They
Liberty's
go up.
definitely.
They go up to 0-2 Buffalo. It's still relatively warm up there in Buffalo, so I like Liberty's chances to go 3-0.
Yep.
Yeah. Appreciate it, Zach. As always coming with the good info. We got 2 left. Let's go with Josh Bevel, Georgia Southern fan.
Group of 5 guys, it's Josh Bevel here down in Middle Georgia. Look, first off, I love y'all's podcast, and you know what? We need some more Georgia Southern fans calling in to the Group of 5 guys. I mean, Southern fans, we got to step up and do our part. All I hear is Coastal and App State and all these other schools. Thankfully, no Georgia State because nobody cares about them. But, a couple of things I got for y'all. What are your thoughts on Georgia Southern? Specifically Davis Brin. He's having the first good 2 games of the year so far, going up to Wisconsin this weekend. What are your thoughts on that? And another thing I got for y'all is, how do you think that the defense has improved? I just, want to hear y'all's thoughts and comments on the defense. And last thing I got for y'all is I'm going to do a little self-promotion here. Everybody go listen to Water Hose Drinkers on YouTube and Spotify. We love y'all. Thanks. Be sure to like and subscribe, and hopefully we can collab soon, Group of 5 guys. Y'all are the best.
Davis Brin goes 22 for 32, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT, and 1 rushing touchdown. Davis Brin shows out finally for the Swag Bear.
Wow. What do you mean finally?
What do you mean finally?
Every time I talk him up,
yeah,
he always
beat
lets
by
me down.
Cal Poly.
So I'll never forget. That's the most mad Jeff's ever been at me on that
Oh
one.
my gosh. I had a
Ooh.
5-leg parlay. I was like, how do you feel about him? Took his word.
That was my team. That was my NIU that year. That was my team. Davis Brin, I think he's going to ball out. The Wisconsin defense hasn't really.
No.
Just looking at their numbers, they don't look that great. So I think Davis Brin can go out there and have a field day.
Yeah.
Build up his stock. This is what these games are for a Group of 5, really. I mean, build your stock up. Win and build your stock. Win stock.
Well, and I think, we said it preseason, I think Davis Brin's a better player than Kyle Van Treese. And you look what he did in year 1 of Helton's offense. So now you add another year, a couple more skill guys, and a better quarterback. He's going to light it up, which he's been doing.
Who's better, Davis Brin or Mordecai?
I think Brin in the offense that he is in is a lot better than Wisconsin's offense that Mordecai's in. So I just think that this is the perfect offense for Davis Brin, and he's got the most weapons around him. And if they can put up 40-something points a game, he asked about the defense. Do they look a whole lot better than last year? Not really sure. They look about the same to me. I know still early on in the season, but if you're scoring 40, 50 points a game, hell.
You see to play a bend, don't break.
Exactly.
Defense.
Exactly.
The last time Davis Brin and Tanner Mordecai went head-to-head was 2021, Tulsa versus SMU. Tulsa won the game.
Jack
in
Nicholson.
a bit of a shootout, 34-31.
But
well, neither of them played very good. No, Davis Brin, 18 of 33, 244 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. Mordecai, 26 of 46, 298, a touchdown, and 2 picks. So, but it was a bit of a shootout. A lot of yards,
3 touchdowns,
a lot of points.
1 rush, 1 little INT. Probably hit off a player's hand. And
yeah. No, I don't know. Mordecai, I keep wanting him to be
Isn't
special.
Mordecai like? Isn't that Children of the Corn?
I have no idea.
You understand who Children of the Corn?
No.
Pretty sure Mordecai was the main bad kid, little shit that was tearing up the whole town and
Sounds
killing
like
adults.
a bad kid name, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
his name's Mordecai. He's like, you sacrifice
sure?
kids on the cross. I think it's Mordecai.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Play the next
Mordecai,
voice.
Mordecai.
Josh, thanks for the call. Yeah, hey, I listened to your first episode. You guys do a good job. A little too much Georgia Bulldog talk for my liking, though. You can call Georgia Southern fan my ass. No, you guys did a good job, man. I look forward to getting back down to Statesboro and kicking it with the Bevel fam.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Well, let's get to our last voicemail. Our boy Steeple PC _51.
Hey, Group 5 guys. How you doing? This is Steeple _PC_51. First of all, I want to give you guys a big shout out for this live stream show you did in Conway. Absolutely professional. And nobody does it like you guys. I think it should stay a constant. Secondly, man, if y'all didn't make my day, seeing you guys and meeting you guys for the first time was absolutely awesome. I don't want shit for Christmas. I'm sorry, John. I don't want nothing for Christmas now. Yeah, I'm good. I'm absolutely good. And as you could tell when my wife told you guys, I was ecstatic meeting you guys. So now I do have one Christmas wish. I got to meet you there. Hey, we got a couple good ones coming to Conway. Got to get you there, buddy. I got to get to meet you. Okay. On that note, it was great meeting you guys. Y'all guys have wonderful families. It was really awesome. But let's get back to business. Conway, baby. That Jacksonville State team is pretty good. And the guy, Zion Webb, he did a good job running the offense. I think his only issue is he is not accurate throwing the ball. That's the only problem that I could see that whole night. But they ended up making a switch later on, man. They brought the guy, Logan Smothers, in. Logan Smothers is the real deal. Me personally, if I was Rich Rodriguez, I would start Logan Smothers and let him play the rest of the time. Because I think at the end of the night, his quarterback rating was like 71 compared to Webb's was like 26 or 27. Yeah, that kid, and he got some wheels too. He had a 19-yard touchdown run that was absolutely perfect. He went to his left, he found the gap, and it was good. Game was very interesting, stuff like that. Coastal, we still having problems running in the interior, but we can get on the edge, and you can see that constantly with some of the runs that we had on the outside. So dynamic, Coastal is such a dynamic team, and they have so many weapons and things of that nature. Once they get it together, I think we're going to be pretty good. Defense actually stood up constantly throughout the whole night. They only gave up like 207 yards passing, and they're better than a lot of people thought we were going to be. So, and as far as Grayson McCall, he still threw for 260-something yards. He was 21 for 29. I think his percentage, some of the missed shots that he made, I think it's because of the weight that he put on. He's actually stronger, and a lot of his balls that he threw, to the outside, and maybe that's what seemed like where he missed, would float a little bit to the out of bounds. But it's a good problem to have, I believe. To end most of the call, I got to give a shout out to ULM. Man, they're doing it. They're winning games. Complete turnaround. Helps the Sun Belt look better. Grant, if you're listening, I think this is going to be the last time I give y'all a shout out because I'm sick and tired of y'all. Y'all doing a good job. The coach is doing a good job. I'm going to be a low-key hater. But JMU, congratulations on beating the Power 5. That's our goal as far as the group of 5. So, JMU, I'm going to give you a little bit of respect here, but this is the last time Now for the rest of you clowns. Louisiana. I can't wait to hear your response. Yeah, Old Dominion got us last year, but guess what? They got y'all ass this year. So go ahead and get you some hot sauce ready and put it on whatever the gumbo or whatever you got. Go ahead and get some of that. I can't wait till you call. Tree, App State, good showing again. I mean, y'all like getting second place in a beauty contest. Every year I go with North Carolina and give them a good run, but then at the end, y'all just fail. Again. Creme Brulee, you were on top. And I was pulling for you, so guess what? I ain't pulling for y'all ass no more. Get that. You and Zach Troy, no more. No more. I'm done. Put my faith in y'all guys to handle y'all business, you couldn't. So, look, I'm done. I tell you what, this is what you do. Bring your ass to Conway. That's what I say. See you in Conway. Have a good one.
Steve was the man,
Great.
dude.
Great call.
That
I
was
got a
fantastic.
lot. First of all, Jesse, Malachi, not Mordecai.
Same thing. Pretty close.
Pretty
That's-
close.
yeah.
Not bad. Second of all, a couple people brought up Old Dominion, Louisiana. My boy Jason Henderson had 17 tackles on Saturday. He's got 20. He's got
This is an
28
animal.
tackles. 28 tackles in 2 games so far. It's not bad. What else did he say?
He was throwing shade out to the Sunbelt teams that I think
Everybody.
deserve to be shade.
Yeah, it's a great call. That's what happens. If you are the team that gets the big win and everybody else doesn't, Jeff will put your voicemail last and you can close the show with it. So that's it. But no, man, Steeple, it was great to meet you. Your family's great. Obviously, your son is a freaking baller. He brought up McCall. McCall's really good at, I think he's better. Jeff, you could probably speak to this a little better than I can. Not probably, you can speak to it. I feel like he's better this year as he's scrambling, stepping up in the pocket, rolling out. He's keeping his eyes downfield pretty good. I mean, I noticed that a lot in the game this weekend. And I know he's been capable of that. There's that one play and he was running around for like 10 seconds and he's directing people. And then he doesn't make the stupid throw. He makes the quick, you get the first down throw, completion, and keep the ball moving.
Yeah, and he's always been a smart guy, and he's always protected the ball relatively well. And that's one thing that I just love about him. He's athletically capable to get outside the pocket when stuff breaks down, and he's got the arm to put the ball anywhere he needs to on the run, and it just makes him that much more deadly. And honestly, between him and all the weapons they have on offense, that's why I picked him to win it all, because he's the most experienced quarterback in the conference.
But you got to give credit to the receivers there too. They ran their initial route. It wasn't open. It wasn't there. So you're taught as a receiver, come back to your quarterback, find the open space. And you can just tell these receivers and McCall are on the same page, because not only was that receiver already running back towards him, trying to find that open space, but McCall was back there directing traffic, directing him, telling him where to go, and throws a laser in there to him and completes it and gets a first down.
I know this. I cannot wait for the day that we finally pull the trigger on a group of 5 outing in the offseason and we get all these guys together in one place, as I think that would be fantastic. Whether it be golf tournament, we just meet at a bar, whatever. We just meet and have our own little tailgate or something. I think it would be incredible.
Absolutely.
Conversation, incredible trash talk. But I think most importantly, this is it, man. For a guy like Steeple, that guy loves football. He loves coastal football. He loves group of 5 football. And ain't a better place to talk about it than right here on the Group of 5 Guys pod. But that is all we've got. That's all we got, right, Jeff, for voicemails? That's all we got for you guys tonight. If you like the show, we certainly appreciate you listening and watching. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button, hit the comment button, give us a 5-star rating and review. Tell your family and friends all about us. Follow us on all the social media platforms at Group of 5 Guys. and go to group5guys.com, get you some merch. We will see you in Troy, Alabama. Troy versus James Madison. Group of 5 live from Tailgate Terrace, sponsored by Trojans Together NIL Collective. Going to be fantastic. Catch you in a couple of days.